It's so good to see you again. When are you coming back down this way?
You know, I want to come down just for holiday, but we're actually just doing like America this year and next summer and crap. I just want to come down and hang out, man.
Yeah, fucking A.
Yeah.
Do it.
Yeah. It's about, it's a 28-hour flight from Stockholm, so, which is no big deal because I miss it. Actually, my oldest daughter was saying, when are we going back to Auckland? And I'm like, well,
wonderful.
Maybe this podcast will blow up and Bobby will get me down as a guest.
Absolutely,
Totally.
man. Totally, man. We'll get you down here live. So what the hell have you been doing the last 10 years since I saw you?
My God, let's see. I opened a studio in Louisiana.
Yep.
I worked in the film business quite a bit, doing like scoring, ADR stuff. Produced a lot of records. Started a new project with Dave Matthews, the Sexton Brothers, and Charles and Jacob.
Dave who?
Matthews.
Never heard of him.
I know he's some jerk off from South Africa. I don't know that.
That's awesome, man. So you've kept yourself busy then.
A little busy, and then kind of been working in the tech field as well, virtual reality stuff with my partner out of England, stuff with Google.
Wow.
When I'm home, that's tough. You know how it is when you used to tour. So on my it's better when I'm home because she's got some freedom and I take care of the kids and stuff. And usual family shit. You just have to try to juggle it all because you got to do what you got to do. But you got to go sometimes.
Nice. And so you built you've opened a studio in Louisiana. How often are you over there?
I set it up and ran it. And the clinch in the deal was my wife got pregnant. What was it, 2 years ago now? Yeah, a little over 2 years ago. And she really despised the United States health system because we had the first kids in Sweden. It was like, no problem.
Everything's free. Yeah.
America, man. I was paying I swear to God, I was paying, let's see, already about $1,100 a month for health insurance, and then I was paying the extra doctor visits by 50%. So, end of the day, it's coming up to be about $1,600 a month for health insurance. Over her age. She was like, I noticed she started getting grumpy. She was working there bad. Things were kind of cool, but she's like, we really should go back to Sweden. What can I say? I'm like, I went to my board of directors of my own company. I'm leaving. I'm going back to Europe. They're like, but you can't at your company. I'm like, yes, I can. I'm out.
So is it still working over there? Is it still going or?
Still going. I think my chief engineer, who I hired, Chris Bell, was about to move to Austin, Texas, but maybe soon. But it's another thing about Louisiana. Mentally, they're a bit they're not as proactive as a lot of countries. So when it comes down to education, which is the only reason I did the studio, it kept running in the flat. It was like climbing Mount Everest. And so the studio was making money and all this other stuff, but the main thing was the educational tools, which is why I built the place in the first freaking place.
Yep.
So I learned a very valuable lesson. I had two other partners on this. One of them was great, and the other one was just rich and stupid. And never get in business with a rich and stupid man. Word of advice to all listeners.
What particularly? What's the pitfall there?
Well, I think when it comes down to a partnership in any business, you have to be on the same accord and have the same vision. That's imperative. It starts with one person, two person, and that thread will run down through the whole company, and you advance forward like a fucking military operation.
Yeah.
So if you one guy, the platoon's going this way, and this guy's trying to go this way. Well, no, we don't want to go that way, and it turns into like, okay, and then you wreck the car total.
Yeah.
Sounds like a lot of bands too.
What do you say? So, look, we normally start these things just talking a little bit about your earlier history.
Sure.
So do you want to talk a little bit about? I think I remember that you started playing music really at a really young age in church. Your dad was a pastor. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. My father, we grew up in church since we were born. Yeah. But the cool thing about church was hearing the B3 and the choir and everything. He had an unbelievable record collection at home.
Right.
So, funny enough, my brother to this day still owns the original 67, I think, realistic receiver. He's got different speakers, but he loves that tone of the what do you call it, the tubes and stuff with it.
Yeah.
It sounds so warm. Put his turntable with it. So we grew up like listening to all this music. And my father, I think, bought me a drum set, which me and my friends beat the hell out of. And my brother came along. He was 5 years younger. And I think by the time he was about 7, 8, he started kind of messing around. And I tell you what, within 1 year's time, he was already kicking my ass. I mean, he was big. He'd wake up in the morning and put on like a Coltrane record and stuff. But I had a lot of jazz records. So I gave him all my records, and he would actually learn them, just like learn them before he'd start writing. And then he started kind of, I think the turning point for us, besides playing in church, was a guy named Dorsey Summerfield. He used to be in the Ray Charles Orchestra. So he was starting this kind of prototype magnet school, and I went to school there, and then my brother followed after me. He was the most unbelievable teacher, dude. Mm-hmm. Just taught us how to read, theory and chart stuff out, and also have some intuition about music. Plus, he put me and my brother to work in his professional band at night. So we used to have to get this permit because we were too young to go in clubs.
Right.
And so to have that kind of experience playing with a band like that, I think that's the thing that really fast forwarded, our track.
Yeah, There's no better way to learn music, than playing with other people.
It throws in the deep end.
Yeah.
One of the things I remember about, for the people that don't know, Brady produced the first Op Shop record, and we were talking with Greg Haver last week about about the subsequent Op Shop records, and there's that sort of drummers club, the guys who have this language together. And I remember you telling me about, I didn't even understand, I wasn't that good at actually playing to a click track. But you were telling me about how when you were coming up, man, if you didn't know how to play to a click track, you would get something either thrown at you, or you'd be fired off the session. You need to know how to play behind the click, in front of the click, on the click. And I guess you only learn that from experience, right?
You really do, and from playing it. And funny enough, my teacher drilled in me about the metronome stuff. The students, I actually got to work with this one student named Nicholas, who's an unbelievable drummer now at the ripe old age of 11. Started when this kid's killer. And I thought I'd do an experiment with him, and he would come by the studio, and I'd give him a 45-minute lesson, and I didn't use a click with him not once, because I wanted to develop his natural rhythm.
Right.
So I had him actually playing other instruments, messing around with the bass. He's like, I can't play bass. I'm like, everybody can play bass. And he started... It was a tough crowd. So I had trying to show him the difference in how they react with each other. And then, funny enough, I had this, I was doing some thing for a commercial or something, and needed some drums on it. Pretty just some kind of a pocket Al Green kind of groove kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, today's lesson is you're going to do your first session. Kind of like my teacher threw me in the deep end. Kids never played with a click before. So all of a sudden I make a click out of a shaker.
Yeah.
Or a tambourine rather. And then, he started kind of dancing a little bit. I'm like, you're in after 8, counted him in. Kid just locked it right in. I was like, that's it.
Because I remember the click tracks you used to love to make were with shakers and more organic kind of sounds, other than that fucking cowbell from Pro Tools, man. That
dude, it's like torture. I don't want to call it a country out, but it's like some kind of torture to hear cowbell through a track unless it's like Blue Oyster Cult and Will Ferrell's there. Otherwise, I mean, it's unmusical. So if you got something that seems natural to me as a drummer, I think, and the more musical you have something to play to, it's better. So, yeah.
Nice. And you talked about Al Green. Didn't you play with Al Green a few years back?
I did.
You played with some legends, man.
I did. I was the first time I played with Al Green. I think I mentioned this to you guys when we were down hanging out trying to find Noam Chomsky or something on the option.
Yeah, because we're intellectuals, man, from New Zealand. We listen to Noam Chomsky, we read Noam Chomsky, we can quote Noam Chomsky.
And Jason. so I was my dad was doing a TV show that I ended up producing and narrating at the ripe over age of 14, but I think I was 12 at the time. Al Green had just about 2 years ago had just gotten burned by some woman throwing hot grits on him, and then he stopped doing soul music kind of but started doing gospel. Okay, it was going to be on my dad's TV show. His drummer missed the flight, and the taping was at night. So my dad offers me up and says, my boy plays a little bit of drums, and Al Green said, all right. So I got to play 2 songs on TV with Al Green.
No,
now,
awesome.
I was 12 years old. This is a long time ago. And the tour bus came up or whatever, outside of the TV studio. Just getting ready to go. Said, come out with me, young man. I need to take care of you. Writes me a check for $250. Now, at that time, that's like the equivalent of a couple of grand. I was like, you know what? There might be something to the drumming thing.
And so, but you did sort of move away from drumming for a while. You got into the A&R record company type thing. Did you?
I did.
Did you play drums through high school and play in school band and all that sort of shit, like the rest of us?
Yep, I did high school. Then I started college. I stopped playing and majored in business. I finished school in business in '89. I got a job at Island Records in Los Angeles about a year after college. And then I started a management company in England by default, and that was a lot of fun.
And that was with brand new heavies, wasn't it?
Hardly at all. I mean, I stopped kind of playing. I didn't even have a drum set, really, for years. And then, you want me to talk about when I started back playing?
Yeah. Well, no, talk a little bit about the business stuff and so Danny was saying about the brand new heavies. Was that when you were in England? Was that your English phase?
Oh yeah, the business stuff was kind of fun. I was working as an assistant A&R at Island Records, which was great. I got to see Chris Blackwell, was taking care of Marianne Faithfull.
You too would have been on that label too, wouldn't it? Wouldn't that time?
Who was that?
Well, you too would have been on the label then.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got a U2 story if you want to hear it.
Yeah, great. We want to hear that.
Yeah, definitely.
For sure.
All right, U2 at that time had done, I think, like Daniel and Wow, who I didn't know at the time, but he, did the record. And I think Joshua Tree really blew up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah.
Man. And it got to the point where, and this is a funny global geo business here. So they made so much money, Island basically couldn't afford to pay the royalty that they had agreed in their contract.
Wow. Okay.
So, Paul McGuinness, their former manager, negotiated with Chris Blackwell. It's like, well, you know what? Give me 10% of Island Records. It's a business move.
Yeah.
Right? So the first big chunk of money U2 made was because of that, because right after that, Island Records got bought out by Polygram for about $330 million.
Wow.
Jesus.
Okay.
Or more.
Yeah.
And that was 330. So that was such a smart business move. But yeah, I mean, it was so successful, and I got to meet Larry, I think. Yeah, which he later on went to work with my brother on the Emmylou's record, and would see him around a little bit. But
you played with Emmylou too, right? Oh, sorry.
I'll say that. Yeah, they were from Ireland and stuff, and then the England thing. There was a band called the Brand New Heavies that I started managing. I think I've managed them for maybe a year and a half, which they was kind of starting out. They had this really cool, flamboyant Yankee singer and 3 British boys. And they were with a label called Acid Jazz at the time in Europe. They were with Delicious Vinyl in America. So it was fun to actually coexist, between 2 labels, negotiating schedules. And my job was to put together the whole new business. So I got them a new agent, William Morris in America. I think it was Phil over at ICM in London. I put together a new team.
Yeah.
Everybody started making really good money, and they became very successful. they went on to do some other solo stuff. And at that point, I had left, which segued into me wanting to go back to graduate school and finish. I actually wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to be an economics teacher. So I was going to get my master's and then my PhD. And then Emmylou Harris called me right after I moved from London back to the States. And that was a weird phone call. Because she's like, I heard you could play. And let me preamble this. Sorry, I'm like on tangents. Your listeners are going to hate me.
No, go for
it. But the reason I met Daniel Lanois, I was managing the Brand New Heavies. And I think the boys in the band had gone to Mexico and got stuck because of visa stuff. I mean, literally.
Right.
Like 2 days. I'm just like, what? So the girl singer was there. So I had to put the band together. We had a date in San Diego. I had to put a band together in 2 days. So I called Mike Boydo. I called Lonnie Marshall from Weapons of Choice. His brother Enrique was in the Chili Peppers for a bit. Xander Schloss from Thelonious Monster. And Daniel Lanois. And to come, put this band together. No rehearsal. And I got a van for all of us to go down from Los Angeles and go down to the thing. And they're like, what are we going to play? I'm like, we're professionals. We'll figure it out, gentlemen. Dan had a date with a friend of mine who's very beautiful. So he basically said, you know what? If Kathy come down with me, I'll come down and play. I'm like, no problem. So I called Kathy. She said she'd go. Daniel got a limo, picked her up, came down. And, dude, we played for probably 2.5 hours. And I think one of the rappers that came on stage was an unknown Snoop Dogg. I mean, it was just it was a great boy. It was a great boy all-stars kind of event. So DJs and stuff really helped sing.
Yeah.
So that's got to meet Daniel Lanois, really, as a player.
Right.
So when Emmy called me, I didn't know she had I knew Daniel produced the record and my brother played on it and Larry Mullins Jr. as well. And she's like, we got some promo shows in Denver and Boulder to start off the record. I'm like, Miss Harris, no offense, but I think you got the wrong brother. I mean, my brother, Brian. No, he came highly recommended. So I went to play with Emmylou Harris, rehearse with her and play with her for like maybe 3 or 4 days, thinking that would be it. That turned into a 9-year, gig.
Yeah, awesome.
So no school. I still hadn't finished my master's, So, but because of her, I got to meet like everybody you would meet. I mean, from Johnny Cash to Dolly Parton. I got the Indigo Girls gig because of her. I got the Jewel gig because of her. I met my wife because of her. Wow.
You played with Patty Griffin. I love Patty Griffin. I think she's amazing.
Oh, Patty Griffin, Buddy Miller. Yeah, matter of fact, that first band, Daniel Lanois was a guitar player for the first year, and then Buddy Miller came in. And we've been friends forever. I mean, I've done all, and he's finishing it up, I think, this year. But he's the executive producer for that TV show Nashville.
Yeah.
So he's pretty well for himself.
And so did Daniel take you under his wing? Because you learned a lot from him on the producer side of things too, didn't you? Without
a doubt, he's got a very intensive work ethic, and he also likes the idea of exploration, which I think is crucial in working with bands, which is what we did a lot with Upshot. Remember our pre-production? Had so much fun. You guys came up with what's that song? Secrets. All these things came just from let's see what we can do here. Where can we go?
Yeah.
And that I learned from Daniel, and also the craft of the song itself and lyrical content, very crucial.
Mm.
And it's strange. I'm still in a band with Daniel. We're all in my father's band.
Oh, right.
Actually, we're playing at the center in New York in July. Cool. 2 nights. It's it's crazy.
Wow, what a career you've had!
I love the dynamic between your interest in business and your shoe, which for the listeners, he was holding up to the camera. I love the fact that you're passionate about business and passionate about music. That's not always the case with musicians, is it?
I think most drummers really make like Sly Stone's old drummer is an unbelievable financial analyst in the Bay Area. I think it was at Edward Jones or something, but it's financial whiz kid. It was really good. I heard Keith Moon was pretty good at mathematics too. So
Right.
I think it's
That's
Only when counting up grams of heroin.
you got a point. But I think it's something like, and Bobby can relate, it's an organizational thing of if you've got to manage all these different kind of things at one time, I think in your life, drummers deal with chaotic situations better. Like, I have no problem juggling kids, work, and schedules because it's all just really, it's like a groove or a coordination of independence of limbs.
Mm-hmm. That's why you're always so relaxed, eh, Bobby?
Yeah, I'm so chilled. But no, I was trying to, and I felt like I got myself down into a rabbit hole a few episodes back when I tried to formulate what you've just said in a way that it seems like it was all this shit about fucking neurons in the brain connecting, the rhythmic sort of thing with the language centers in the brain. But I do feel, I feel like I can connect things better than some other people. Like you sort of see things that other people can't see, and path through, And
it just makes complete sense. And I think a lot of drummers
are awesome.
Really inherently that have that sensibility about themselves, and a lot of them I've noticed. I talk to some very successful businessmen sometimes, and they're like, "Oh God, I was a drummer," and it's kind of, the older I get, the more sense it makes, if that makes any difference.
Yeah.
And so, what it is about? Would you recommend that people in the new music business, the new, because it's changed even since we met. The industry's changed so much.
Yes.
How do people find their way through it? And concentrating on business, is that the way to do it, on your own business?
I think because of technology and because of these record labels, majors imploding, and from looking at their business model of the past, it never was a great one for the side of the musician.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's even worse now. But the advantage I think the listeners will have, and musicians, because now you can run your own shop off of this fucking thing. I mean, sorry,
no, you can curse as much as you like.
Okay, this is an unbelievable invention. I can do anything I want. Send documents. I can have conference calls. I can compose music even with GarageBand for an idea at least. My little emails for business. This thing right here revolutionized. Mm-hmm. And I think if musicians get somewhat of an idea of how to work with marketing, publicity, and technologically try to figure out how to use this thing to your advantage, this is the best thing you can have. You can have your own shop. All your money from your efforts will come straight to you instead of the middleman, with that being the label per se.
Right.
And I work for a lot of labels. I don't have anything against them, but I do not like the business model sometimes when it comes to, like, especially 360 deals.
That shit, man.
Wait a minute. You sitting in a fucking office. I'm out here working, touring my ass off, trying to sell merch, and you're getting X amount % of my shit.
Right.
Fuck.
And that's not all. I mean, you used to look at the old record deals where it was, 70-30, or even actually probably 95-5, and now that shit's got even worse with the 360 deal, right? We also want half of every other fucking thing you earn.
Unbelievable. And there's a couple of companies I don't want to talk about publicly because I might be doing some business with them at some point. Motherfuckers, dude. And let me tell you, funny enough, Morris Levy is the guy that kind of started the model about the music industry itself. Mm-hmm. It's actually, funny enough, it's a great book called Hitmen by Frederick Dannen, Dannen. Mm-hmm. I think every young music guy should learn that. Even though it stops at a certain point in the industry, it at least gives, I think, a very comprehensive history of how the businesses work.
Right.
From programming, the radio, payola, the whole underbelly of it all. Because if you're in the industry, you need to know every fucking thing you can about it.
Yeah.
But back to Emmy. Emmy Lou Harris is the first one who sued Morris Levy and won.
Wow.
No shit.
And a lot of people don't know that, dude. And that was a hard thing to do because that guy was like untouchable.
Yeah.
How did she how did she find a way through to sue that guy?
Good lawyer.
Right, there you go.
It's quite interesting to me, your connection with Dave Matthews. I've loved his music for a long time, and I'm guessing you're going to have a closer perspective on the business that is behind the Dave Matthews Band, because they've been a band that I've looked up to a lot in my career, as I understand it, they've set themselves up very independently, and they've run a very, very good business and done very well. Yeah.
Well, I would have to say, when you look at longevity artists, you have to look at Bruce Springsteen and Michael Landau, or John Landau, have been together since day one.
Yeah.
Neil Young, Elliot Roberts, day one. Corin Capshaw and Dave Matthews, day one.
Right.
You know, they built it one. I mean, Dave Matthews, they had, he tells this very funny story because they had this Dodge, a red Dodge van. He said it smelled like living hell. That's what they started in. First 4 years they were together, they played. He said he pretty much played every day of the week.
Right.
The band, which he got right. So you always have to start somewhere. Usually find that one good partner. And a word of advice: I got a friend now that's in a situation, and he's a great artist, but his manager fucking sucks. And I've told him this twice, but you know, you got to figure it out. If a man is getting a percentage, they have to do their job to earn that percentage. It's not like, oh, I go out and do my own shit, and your fucking ass is taking 15% for doing nothing. What the fuck do I need you for? I got my phone, motherfucker. You know?
Beautiful. So, tell us a little bit more about this this project that you're doing with Dave Matthews. It's a new project, right? Because you played with him on the first solo record of his, and now you've come back and put a band together.
He won his first and only Grammy with that record.
Is that right?
And being involved.
You produced a couple of tracks on it too, didn't you?
No, only how it worked out. Me and him, and Steve Harris, the engineer and producer, and Dave and I, we started the project.
Yeah.
And then we started adding in our friends, and then it just evolved into this beautiful organic thing. And basically, he was doing that record because there was songs. I don't think the band, it was right for Dave Matthews Band per se. So he kind of wanted to express himself, which I get. And glad he called me, because actually when he called me, I was like,
did you mean to call my brother?
Yeah. I'm like, you got part of both of them. So what the fuck do you need me for?
That was going to be a question of mine, right? That's something to deal with, right? Because I loved that album when it came out, but I wasn't aware of you at that point. And as soon as I bought the album, I was like, who is this Brady Blade guy? Like, you know, he's under Carter Beauford's shadow.
Yeah,
and Bobby Kennedy.
But I really liked it how you didn't. I really liked it how you brought your own thing to it. Like you clearly weren't. You were bringing your own thing. You know, you weren't trying to in any way match or compete. But Carter's like he's his own thing anyway. Like he's like a different animal, really, isn't he?
I just look at him like this. Every time I see him, I'm like, I'm going to see him this month. And actually, I'm going to see him this month in New York.
Yeah.
At the beach, so it's going to be fun to hang out. And I just saw Dave last month in Seattle. I was touring with this guy, Anders Osborne, and he came to the show and hung out all night. You know, it was great to see him. He's just a good friend.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. But you say, you know, you don't have chops, but man, you've got groove like nobody's business, and that sitting in that pocket, you know, you've got real pocket, man. So that's why people call you.
What's
that?
What are you?
No,
You're like
no. No, apparently I've got a lazy kick drum foot.
We can ask Brady.
What?
Does Brady know about Bobby Foot?
No, I don't think he does.
When we're talking to Greg.
Well, no, because, you know, so we were talking to Greg last week, as we mentioned, and he was talking about how some drummers, they'd go home at the end of the session, and Greg would end up replacing the whole song or album. I think that's what Brady did when I went home at night on the Offshot record.
That's all. I'm taking a picture of you guys. Hey! Woo!
Yeah.
No, I saw your ass, Bobby. But I hate working, remember? I had you working your ass off.
You did, yeah. Yeah, you pushed me. In fact, you pushed us all pretty hard. In between sort of pizza and chicken wings and shit, you know.
I mean, dude, I had a dream about those chicken wings the other day. I swear to God, New Zealand chicken wings. I'd love to sit down. And what's that burger place we used to go to?
What's it called?
There's Purple Brown.
Yeah, Burger Fuel.
Yeah!
It ain't that hot.
Learned the expression "dirty bird."
Dirty bird, yeah, that's right. A bit of the old dirty bird.
How did you end up doing so much work in New Zealand?
Dude, that's a good question. I think I did a record with a kid named Dean Chandler, and that record, and he just contacted me recently, funny, but that record I brought in some pretty heavyweights. Nora Jones, they had Larry Campbell from Dylan's band on there guesting. But I kind of fell in love with the country. But I think the fun part was working, came, let me see, who did I do next?
Brooke Fraser.
I guess it was Brooke Fraser, that was a good one. Op Shop was a damn good one.
Oh,
that was a lot of fun. Guested on your record. Yeah, that's right.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, I was good.
No ordinary thing.
Like, with the guys plays the piano. It's like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. She just moved to Auckland. She didn't have any friends. Yeah. Apart from Jesus. Yeah. Now, and how many times have you been back since? Have you done any more records since Op Shop? Because it was Dean, Brooke, Op Shop.
You got to say that again because it was going like.
No, that's what he said. That's what I was saying. Have you been back since the Op Shop record? Have you done any other? Yeah, I've seen you here since then. So
yeah, I did the Anna Mac record for Sony.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Mm.
That was the last time I was in New Zealand. The Anna Mac record,
right.
Which was a lot of. I think she did pretty good on that one.
Yeah. She got a lot of uptake on that. We didn't quite finish the conversation.
Oh yeah, and Annabelle Faye too. I did her record. That was a good one, I think.
Did you?
Yeah, that Strong. I did that one.
Oh, right. I don't remember you looking me up and asking me to play on that.
Oh,
yeah, no.
Right, because we did half of the record.
Oh, here we go.
We did half the record in New Zealand, and then
half
we did
the record in fucking Jamaica or something. Where?
Melbourne.
Oh, okay.
Melbourne, Australia.
I thought it was going to be some sort of tropical island somewhere like Jamaica or in the fucking Ibiza or somewhere. Although that's So we didn't finish the conversation about Dave Matthews, the new project. How's it going, and when can we hear some of it?
You know what? It's funny because the project came about really to do with no business. It came about, let's get together as musicians and make some fucking music. That's it.
Yeah.
Completely it. We ended up coming up with 14 different songs. Now, next year, I'm working with Dave. I think he's got to do another solo record, so he said we might get together on that. And then I think we're going to readdress and look at to see what can be done. Dude, some of these songs are some of the best shit I've ever heard because we had no agenda. Right. So I'm looking at Dave Matthews, who never met Jacob, and they started getting along lyrically because Dave's like killer with melodies, and Jacob's just like his father, Bob. So it was really, dude, just a bunch of cats hanging out in the Boy Scouts, fucking making music, drinking a hell of a lot of Patron tequila, staying up free, and having a good time. And I think those guys really enjoyed that part of it because it was no agenda, no managers involved, no, let's do a record, that kind of thing. It was just really for the fuck of it. I hope it's going to come out and have some kind of light of day. You never know what's going to happen. I mean, Charlie Sexton's still out with Bob Dylan. Will Sexton's out with his wife, Amy LaVere, who's great. Jacob's just hanging in L.A. raising 4 boys. I'm bouncing around the world, and then Dave's touring with DMB. So you never know what's going to happen. Hell, he might, everybody might kind of get a wild wind like after Christmas. Oh, guys, let's get back together and see, what's happening. Yeah. So I do like that natural, organic process because I think in this day and age, not too many people do it enough.
Right. And it's kind of an upside to the state of the music industry in a way because like now that records kind of aren't selling like they were and everything's changed, you're left with sort of only making records for the fun of it. You're not going to make millions of dollars, so you may as well enjoy it.
And the funny thing is, I think it's coming around to this because you're looking at a situation where the DJ thing, the EDM was not as popular as it was.
Yeah,
I think it was people last year went to this thing in Stockholm called Summerburst, and Avicii, they got some talent. That kid's very talented as a DJ, pretty musical. But you go to a live show, it's only so much that's happening if you're not off your head on drugs. I mean, you're just sitting there to try to look at the show, and it's like, I could do this at home, DJ myself.
Yeah.
My kid's got 2 fucking, pads on her. She's got a DJ rig on her iPad.
Right.
Right, same shit. So, and I think it's starting to open up again where musicians are it's actually coming back around and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, the touring aspects is kind of the only way we can kind of make money or syncs with commercials and things like that. But ultimately, motherfuckers gonna always want to see some music, and so I think whether we're playing at the fucking Holiday Inn or playing a stadium with 20,000 people, we'll have a job.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I can go sit up in the center of Stockholm with a fucking drum set. I'm sure I'll get a couple of tips. Not many, but maybe a couple. And I can go buy me a taco and my kids a taco.
Tacos in Sweden. Oh, nice.
How long have you lived in Sweden?
Huh?
How long have you lived in Sweden?
Let's see. Wow. I came here, I think, in 2000. So what is it, 16 years ago, 17 years ago now? Oh, God. And we've kind of been in and out. We left here and there. But let me tell you, man. I mean, right behind that wall of shrubbery is the Baltic Sea.
Oh, wow.
We've got the garden there.
Yeah.
My brother-in-law lives right next door to us.
Oh, yeah. Cool.
And that was our property, actually, he got for a song and a dance. That's another story. But, but it's a good life here. So we live on the Baltic Sea. We have to take a boat everywhere. So my car is parked on the other side. So I take my boat over and I get in the car and I go into the city.
Oh, wow.
Which is only 15 minutes away.
Beautiful. What a lifestyle you've got.
We're trying to do it, man.
So how do you juggle all of that shit? You've got kids. You're doing music scoring. You play in bands. You're doing ad work. You're producing stuff. How do you juggle all of that?
It goes back to the conversation we had earlier. I'm a drummer. I can handle a whole lot of shit.
Yeah. Nice.
And I don't get flux by it. I actually love chaos. Which looks like chaos, but it's organized chaos, and everything's really a schedule. Like you guys say, we're going to talk 10:30 my time today, and I think it's 10:30 there at night right now.
9:30. Yeah.
9:30. Yeah.
9:30. Boom, we're here. Here we're doing it. When I leave here, I'm going to a meeting with a horn player, and then I got to go to another meeting right after that. I got to pick up the kids at about 3, and I got to get them home. We hang out a couple hours. I'll feed them dinner, and I still got to do like global travel for the family and a few other musicians and stuff sometime by 8 o'clock tonight. So, it's all about scheduling, time management. My dad taught me that.
Right.
Some life is nothing but time management.
Yeah.
And he's right.
Yeah.
And getting the invoices in on time. That's really important.
I suck at that part. I leave that to the missus and the accountant. I'm horrible with that. That's the only part I suck at. It's like everything else is cool, but when it comes like the invoice, I hate doing that.
What about finding new business?
I'm good at finding new business. All the rest of that shit, somebody else got to
do. But do you have to find new business these days, or have you getting the phone ringing enough? With all the different stuff you've done.
Yeah, I actually had to turn down a couple of things because there's also a balance with musicians that have families. It's like if you're gone all the time, it can really, I think, damage your marriage unless your family's touring with you. Right. And for kids in school, that's not possible. So I think it has to be, for me anyway, it has to be a fine balance of like what I can and cannot do.
Yeah.
And my wife is a lot more important to me than kind of taking off, going off to make some money. So sometimes you got to sacrifice.
Right.
I know.
Who was
I'm not making any money for a couple of months.
Said, they've never been upset because they've missed a gig, but missing your family is a different story.
Oh, dude, it's horrific. And, I've been fortunate to tour with some really great people, so it makes it a lot of fun. And just like this, because of technology, I get to see my kids and talk to them every day.
Yeah.
Right.
When I got home, every time I get back home, my 1-year-old son, he, when I go to school to pick him up and I try to surprise him, and he's used to seeing me on the screen, so he's kind of looking at me like this for a minute, like, is that guy from the...
That's the guy I saw on the internet.
Yeah.
Famous.
You've been gone too long with your kids looking at you. That's fucking funny. So
it's a really interesting. It's a really interesting time for us to be alive, isn't it? Because all of us have experienced the world before, the internet and cell phones and Skype and all that stuff, and then the other side of it. And I guess you remember touring when you couldn't just get on the phone.
No. I mean, the thing is also about like kind of technology and things and where it's going because of virtual reality, which I'm just looking at some prototypes now, some really high end stuff.
Yeah,
dude, it changed the whole way I look at everything. It's gonna open up a whole new world. I hadn't been this excited since the internet came out in 1990.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that. So are you working with a specific platform that people would know, or are you building it from the ground up?
We're kind of going from ground up, so it's kind of proprietary. Some things are already out there, some versions of it, right. But these new versions are going to go into like some fucking Star Trek uncharted territory. And I'm hoping that it will reveal itself within the next year. I know the next 5 years it's going to be just dominant.
Is there a music element to it at all, or?
Without a doubt. That's the only part I know and the part I'm focusing on.
Oh, I see. So, because the one thing about this new VR thing, which I'm absolutely fascinated with, and I'm looking forward to what's coming around the corner, like Magic Leap and Oculus Rift and all that sort of shit. But the thing that I can't get my head around that I'm worried that they might not be able to nail is that sort of spatial awareness with the sound. You turn your head one way.
It's funny you mention that because these guys out of the UK last week, they got the sound thing down. I had a pair of it wasn't attached to the headset. I just had they had the audio coming from a certain feed from the game itself, from the program, and I just had on a pair of really high-end headphones. Yeah, but dude, sound-wise, it was unbelievable. But I think it's gonna go to a surround sound kind of situation, like right now. What are we at? 12.4, right? Surround sound. I think it's going to get even more advanced with that, and because basically people in their homes usually have, some kind of sound component. I think it's going to get even more intense. So you can actually transform your house in a room and sonically feel like you're in fucking wherever you are in the game.
Wow.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
Your neighbors might hate you, but fuck it, it's going to be fantastic.
Speaking of neighbors, do you practice drums at home?
Oh yeah, I got a great set of Leatherwoods down in that part of the house.
Got a soundproof room or something?
Nah. The neighbors all love me though.
Oh, that's
they
good.
Put up with me. They're like, oh, he's the drummer on the island. It's all right.
So do you still work on playing these days and continually try and progress your playing?
Of course. Yep. Oh, we have to.
Yeah.
You got to keep stretching. And I just met this great bass player named May Hagen. She's from Estonia. Dude, this chick is a force. She's like 25. She blew my mind. So we actually been playing together a little bit in the last week. I just met her a week ago. One of my favorite new bass players. She's a chick that plays bass like Daryl Jones from the Stones. Oh, she's sick. Look her up, man. Maigagan.
I'm pretending to write that down as we speak.
So we
haven't got a pen, so
I can text it to you, email you.
Yeah. So Danny was saying that the reason we're sort of doing this tonight is because you're going on tour. Who are you touring with, and how long will you be away for?
I'm actually going out with. Let me think. I'm headed to New York to do 2 shows with Anders Osborne, and then I'm going to do a gig with my Nicholas Gabrielson in Charlottesville, Virginia, and then July, I'm playing with my father and Daniel Lenoir, my brother Brady Blade. And then I'm going to work with Billy Bob Thornton, the actor.
All right.
And I'll be all of September.
So he's a musician, is he?
Yeah. He's got cool stuff going on, man. He's got a great band. So
awesome.
And I got to come over to catch your name for a band and don't give up your day job. This is the catchiest thing I've seen in a long time.
Nice.
And then I'm working with this a pop singer. She's a Disney star named Laura Moreno on the show Austin and Alley. So we're writing next week. She's got this cool single called Boombox. She's a pretty big star in the States. She comes out in the Disney franchise, but she's one of the smartest chicks, dude. She's like a mini me Madonna with a lot more talent because she can sing great, smart business mind, and she's 20 and focused on the case. Look her up, Paul Moreno.
Okay.
Let's see who else.
And I saw was it last year or the year before you did Letterman?
I did who?
You played on Letterman.
Oh yeah.
Dave Letterman.
I've done it a few times and. Actually,
that must be a great experience.
There about a week before they went up there. I think I was doing Letterman with John Doe from the band X.
Yeah.
He's killer.
What's it like behind the scenes? What's it like behind the scenes at Letterman?
Oh,
or what was it like?
The whole band's just great. I talked to Will Lee quite a bit, and you see Paul Schaefer. He's just the nicest guy.
Is it Anton Fig? Is that the name of the drummer?
Yeah.
Comes out with Joe Bonamassa now.
I think he's from Christchurch.
Who?
Anton Fig.
He's South African.
He's South African, but I think he grew up in Christchurch,
No.
New Zealand, or some.
Really?
Is that right?
Yeah.
That's amazing. I'm gonna look that up.
Yeah, look that up because I might have made that shit up. I'm sure. I'm sure it's something like that. So Dave Letterman loves drummers, eh? So, you know, he would have. I think he might have even been a drummer himself. Hey, maybe I made that shit up too.
No, he does love drummers because he used to do that thing. Like, are those drums yours? Did you steal those?
That's right. He says that to every drummer.
Yeah.
I just saw
your drums were yours?
the funniest shit yesterday. Have you seen the Kardashians?
No.
No, seriously. It's like Steve Gadd. They're making a take on the Kardashian TV show. Look that shit up. I just saw it last night. The Kardashians.
Steve Gadd.
Yeah. You gotta check it out.
Kardashians.
Awesome. Totally looking that up.
The Kardashians.
Have you ever met Steve Gadd?
It was a long, long time ago in New York. I hadn't seen him since. It's always like, he plays with a lot of my friends, and Willie Weeks speaks highly of him and stuff like that. But I hadn't seen him and since, God, this must have been the 90s,
Right.
But it's called Peppermint Lounge, I think it was. Yeah, good place.
I was trying to remember some of the Bradyisms from when we were working with you, and one of them was if I knew it was going to be that kind of party, I would stick my dick in the mashed potatoes. Is that? Is that? Have you ever used that since, or is that one of your favourite
An exclusive op shop saying?
I mean, doing that record. You remember how many people we had in the studio? What was the engineer we had? Was it Clint? Clint? We drove Clint fucking crazy.
Clint
We had probably about 30 people in the studio every day.
Yeah.
But I think that's what made the record cool.
Yeah. Because you really kept control of that session. No, and there was the other one. What was the other? It ain't no thing but a chicken wing. That was another.
That ain't no thing but a chicken wing.
Yeah.
And I ate it. I probably ate about 10 pounds. No, I probably ate 20 pounds of fucking chicken wings making your record at least
a week. Yeah.
Every day was a chicken wing.
Those were his per diems. And
right.
And the rest of the band was sitting there not being able to eat because we're so poor, and we watched him eat all these chicken wings. Just kidding. No, that was a great time, man. That was certainly one of my most memorable times of my life. A first record in a big studio with a big name producer, and you really put us through our paces. We learned a shitload off that session, so that was awesome, man. As you do, as you're probably still learning from people you're working with now, right?
Dude, I learned something every day. It was not my kids, it's friends I work with. I've got a big band called the Brady Blade Big Band, 11-piece.
How do you do all of this shit?
Yeah, we do.
And you seem so relaxed.
Corporate stuff. It's like pretty good.
Right. And is it like so? Was it swing stuff? A swing band?
Yeah. We're doing like a lot of Frank Sinatra kind of shit. It's pretty killer. We all wear tuxedos. It's a killer band.
Cool, man.
Were you always so relaxed and unflappable as you are now, or were there moments in your career where you felt out of your depth, or
oh shit!
or intimidated?
Every gig I do, but I never. I never let it bother me. I just keep rolling, because at the end of the day, I approach everything from a very simplistic point of view, that common denominator. And you try to get fancy and complicated, they usually fuck stuff up. Especially when you're in a band and a lot of cats doing, there's a lot of other stuff going on. I even get more simple. I mean, I do some gigs with a kick snare and a hi-hat, not even a ride or a tom in sight, and just literally hold the pocket. Because I think if you, once again, I'm not a chop kind of drummer. I really respect those guys and actually wish I could do it, but it's just not my bag of tricks. I'm trying to just focus on a groove, and that's what I get hired to do usually. So
yeah.
So this might be romanticizing things a little bit, but so if there was an Al Green or a one of those weathered old stars that we all know and love that you've met that's given you one piece of advice, have you had that piece of advice and could you share it with us?
Yeah, I think the playing with those guys, really listening to what the song dictates first.
Right.
Secondly, if it's an ensemble where it's actually vocals, gotta follow the singer. Otherwise, you're jerking yourself off.
Yeah.
Thirdly, and basically, I think it's a dynamic thing too. I saw a great drummer a couple of nights ago. He was killer, but he wasn't playing the dynamic of the room. He was playing like it was a freaking, just fucking football stadium or something in a room that hold like 100 people. Play the room. It's not that hard to do. Look how big the room is, and then chill your ass out. But some drummers get all, I got this. No, you don't have it. You fucking scare the hell out of the old lady in row 4,
Yeah. No, it's a good way to expand your playing though, isn't it? Like learning to play quietly and learning to play slow and learning to play dynamically.
And really, once again, I think that first thing is the most true. Follow the song. What does the song dictate? And if it's a rock thing, kick that ass. If it's a 6/8 waltz, to take it easy a little bit. So
know when to get out of the way.
Exactly.
Boom. And what not to play. Exactly.
Right. Yeah, totally right. So we talked a little bit earlier about the future of VR and where that's going a little bit. I mean, not in any depth, of course, but where do you think the music industry is going to be in 5 years from now? What's it going to look like?
That's a tough one to say. I mean, the industry itself, everybody's trying to figure out streaming. There is nothing to figure out. I mean, it's basically got a whole generation of kids who think all music should be free or with the subscription of one of the sites that offer that kind of streaming service. So when it comes to music, nobody's going to stop not making music because, I love to make music because that's just my therapy. That's like what I love to do. And people are always going to like new music. How they sell it, the business part, to answer your question, it's an interesting thing. I don't necessarily know where it's going to go, but I do think the publishing aspects of things is going to have to catch up with this disconnect that's going on. And, and everybody said, everybody wants something for free. It's like, okay, great. I think it's a point where they're going to start shutting down some things and make it kind of proprietary. I mean, the Adele record, you couldn't get on a lot of streaming things. That's one campaign they did really good. And she sold, 30 million records?
Yeah. Jesus. Of that last record, 25.
30 I heard it was 30, but 25. Still, 25.
No. The name of the record was 25.
Oh, it's 25. That's right. It sold 30 million copies last I checked. So she actually had physical sales. And I think they didn't download or have anything streaming for the first. It happens on pirate sites, but you couldn't find that shit nowhere for about a month, except for. So I think they did a pretty good job with that one. But once again, I think it's a lot of shit out there. You got some great musicians, you got some great songs, but sometimes the thing's so oversaturated with so much music and it's shit. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, yeah.
And
technology's made it easier, isn't it? Like now the market's saturated because every second person has an album out.
They think they can get on GarageBand and make some fine shit, and they all happy about it, and it's a load of shite. So I'm a 22-year-old kid yesterday named Richard. He set my soul on fire. This kid's an unbelievable writer, unbelievable singer, plays guitar, plays bass, plays drums. The kid's and he's highly intelligent and also the best thing about him, he was humble. Swedish kid. This kid's gonna be a fucking force. I like Ed Sheeran. I think he's great. Ed's like a talented cat. So you got some guys that's gonna continue this tradition of like, I can write a fucking good song. I can do this, and I have an audience that wants to hear it. I think that's gonna stay with us all the time.
The thing about referring to the bigger artists, though, is that I strongly believe that the industry requires by nature the bottom of the industry, the people coming into the industry to know what to do to come up through the ranks. Otherwise you won't end up with the people at the top and generations down the line. So it's all very well to talk about the Beyoncés and Adele and all the big artists, but what do the people coming out of uni do? You know what I mean? Some of them still think they're going to get a record deal and a cash advance and sell 1 million albums.
That's the thing. That's the problem with the education, is that a disconnect, because these kids are caught up in an industry of the past that's way gone and never fucking coming back. They have to create their own new model. And I think some of them have figured it out, but the majority, they got a band that's going to, I can't name the particular organization, but they travel going to this place and pay the admission fees and hope they get discovered. That shit's over. It's not going to happen. Yep. You know, I'm not saying it's not going to happen because you never know. You might see somebody on the street. Matter of fact, funny enough, this Irish artist named Paddy Casey.
Oh, I know Paddy. Yep.
Okay. Yep. I saw Paddy playing on the street, invited him to the Emmylou Harris show. About 2 months later, a guy from Columbia saw him and then kidnapped him. I should have grabbed Paddy then.
Oh, no. But what's that song? Always Get You True or something like that. That big, massive hit of his. And that was a long time ago, though. Was it 10 or 12 years ago?
Oh, yeah, exactly. 10 or 12 years ago. And it's hard to sustain things in this, but I think if you get to that point where you have some regional notoriety, you can still make a great living and not be on this big publicity or marketing radar. Because I know a lot of bands, they're just out there on a tour bus and they're doing their shit. Now, me personally, I kind of not retired from touring because I only tour with people I kind of dig anyway, but that's what I did before that. I only got to tour with people I really liked and had a good time. So I've never had a bad experience. So my opinion's kind of one-sided, I guess, but
I've come across a bunch of kids down here, man, that you would love. You know, they're super talented in South Auckland, and I'm sure if you heard them, you would say the same thing you just said about Paddy Casey. You know, someone's got to nab these kids and set them on the right track because they don't know anything about the industry. The industry has changed so much, but they're super talented. You know,
Sweden's really good. I mean, musically, they got a lot of shit going on here, as you know. It's a lot of everybody kind of knows it for its pop stuff, but dude. Swedes, for a small country just like New Zealand, the talent pool here is heavy, and that's why I love New Zealand. That's why I love Sweden. I got to come back down there. I got to figure it all out and get my wife on a plane and the kids and just come and see some of these kids. You know, because, I mean the labels and stuff. You know, I don't have to rely on that too much anymore. I can fly myself down and see.
Well, Greg Haver's doing these workshops called what are they called? Song hubs. And I'm sure we can convince him to get you down here for one of them, man, because it would be amazing to have you back.
I just talked to Greg about 2 weeks ago. Tell him to get my ass down there and quit fucking me around. Get me down here.
All right, man. I'm having dinner with him next week. I'll tell him.
I'm serious. Tell him I want to come. I'm serious.
Okay. We'll get you down. Hey, look, we've really enjoyed talking to you, man, and I really want to... What we're going to do is you let us know when you're on tour with Dave Matthews, and we'll Skype in with the both of you, just casually.
Yeah.
And, you know, just have Dave in your hotel room or whatever writing songs, and we'll go, oh, hey, Brady, you're online. And then we'll just talk to him too.
Actually, I'll be with Dave in 3 weeks in New York for a couple of days.
Tell him we want to talk to him. Tell him to look us up.
Is that possible?
Hell, I just tell him if he wants to do it, he'll do it. He's usually he's such a laid-back guy, dude. He's like, you know, he's not like high fancy about nothing. He's just the funniest motherfucker too. It's hilarious.
That would be awesome.
We'd love to talk to him.
I'll tell him.
Cool, man. Hey, thanks so much. I feel like there's heaps more to talk about.
We'll do a part 2 when you're in New Zealand.
You know what? You got a deal. Or even before. You want me again, just call me.
We'll take you out for a beer and some chicken wings.
Yeah, it's a chicken wing. We'll do a chicken wing episode.
I'm down.
And you can stick your dick in as many mashed potatoes as you like. All right, man.
I can't believe you remember that. If I knew it was going to be that kind of party.
Wicked. Hey, thanks so much, man.
Yeah, thanks
Bye,
so
guys.
much.
Have a great day.
See ya.
See you later.